The place considered a scuba diver's nirvana became the deathbed of a girl who wanted to marry because she was afraid to be alone at the age of 26. Tina Watson died during scuba diving on her honeymoon. No one ever believed that she died in an accident. People felt she was murdered by the honeymoon killer, her husband, Gabe Watson. Was it a murder or just an accident? Let's find out. Tina Watson, with a smile that could light up a room, was full of life. She was not content with just a day for her birthday, but would rather have a birthday month. Born in West Germany as Christina May, she was adopted by Tommy and Cindy Thomas. She loved her parents, and unlike many young adults, always sought their approval before taking any big step in her life, even if it meant breaking off with someone she loved. A young Tina was in love with Scott, but her mother disapproved of their relationship. The age and the disapproval played their part, and the couple broke off. The wounds of her breakup were still fresh when Tina met Gabe at a Christmas Eve party. Despite the lingering hurt, an unexpected friendship blossomed, slowly evolving into something more. After about 2 years, Gabe proposed marriage to Tina. As the previous bitter experience was still holding her back, she did not immediately agree to his proposal. So, Gabe offered to ask for her hand from his parents and started looking for opportunities to meet them. It was on February 15, 2003, when Gabe met Tina's parents and asked for their blessings to marry her. Her father asked if he loved Tina. Gabe should have instantly said yes, but he stammered and did not answer the question. He asked the same question to Tina, who also did not give a direct answer, but said that she was afraid of being alone at the age of 26. Considering Tina's happiness in his heart, he gave his approval, and the wedding preparations started soon. While Tina was busy preparing for the wedding, thinking about her wedding dress, guests, and other preparations, Gabe was only interested in planning for the honeymoon. No, he did not discuss any details with Tina. He, rather, on his own, planned a diving trip to the Great Barrier Reef in the Pacific Ocean near Australia. Unlike Gabe, who was an experienced scuba diver, Tina, until now, had no liking for or experience with scuba diving. Gabe knew this and asked her to learn scuba diving if she ever wanted to go on a honeymoon with him. Tina wanted this relationship to work and soon started taking scuba diving lessons, but was never good at it. They got married on October 11, 2003, and arrived in Australia on the 15th. The couple spent time in Sydney visiting places and flew to Townsville on the 21st, where they boarded a boat to reach the diving place. They had to clear a test before diving. Although Gabe was an experienced diver, he found it difficult to understand the equipment. The test had to be conducted separately, but Tina refused to take help from the instructor. Rather, it was Gabe who helped her clear the test. Tina was advised to undertake an orientation dive, but she apparently refused. They had to rent oxygen tanks for the actual dive. While Gabe took an 11-liter tank for himself, he took an 8.5-liter tank for his wife. The day of the dive dawned mercilessly bright, a cruel contrast to the darkness that awaited Tina. What happened beneath the turquoise waters is a story the ocean keeps close. On October 22, 2003, Tina, Gabe, and 4 other divers entered the water. The couple had been in the water for only a few minutes when Gabe reported an issue with his dive computer. After rectification, they dived again. Just about 8 minutes later, Gabe resurfaced on the water without Tina. A fellow diver, Gary Stempler, was clicking a picture of his wife when he captured Tina in the background, lying on the seabed. The instructor, Wade Singleton, rushed to rescue Tina and brought her back to the surface. They tried to resuscitate her, but failed. All this while, Gabe just stood aside and watched. So, what happened to Tina? Gabe had a story to tell. He said the couple was down about 40 feet when Tina gave him a thumbs-up signal to resurface. So, he took her hand and headed back to the anchor rope. But about halfway through, Tina started sinking. He motioned to Tina to fill up her buoyancy compensator so they would start floating up, which didn't work. Gabe also said that nothing happened from the inflator hose, and that was when I realized, this isn't good. We're in trouble. So, I reached out and grabbed a hold of the BC strap right there. And I just pulled her in, and then I turned and started heading back to the anchor rope. Then Gabe said that he got a whack across his face from Tina and his mask got displaced. He let Tina go to replace his mask properly. And after adjusting the mask, When he looked back, Tina was 10 feet down and still sinking. She was face up, and she had her arms up. She was reaching out for Gabe to grab a hold of her. Poor girl, and she was struggling. She so wanted to live. She somehow trusted Gabe would save her. How mistaken she was. As a trained scuba diver, Gabe should have reached out to her and pulled her out. Instead, this is what he said he did. I kinda just turned on my head and gave a few kicks down to see if I could grab her. And she was still out of arm's reach. And that, I just decided I got to go find somebody. He left and swam to the surface. I don't think I was making rational choices at that point, Watson admitted. I don't know what I would have done had I stayed with her. I don't know that there's anything that I was actually capable of doing. Really. Couldn't he have even asked for help from fellow divers or sent a signal to the instructors on the boat? Watson did not send any desperation or emergency signal right after resurfacing. He climbed on the boat and then alerted dive instructor Wade Singleton. Wade immediately jumped into the water to save Tina. He brought Tina to the surface after about 10 minutes underwater. She was not breathing at the time. She was taken aboard the adjacent dive boat, Jazz 2. A doctor tried to resuscitate her for about 40 minutes, but she could not be revived. And all this while the doctor was trying to revive her. Watson remained on the other boat. Spoil sport. The man Tina trusted with her life did not even bother to be near her at that crucial time. But was this just an accident or a pre-planned murder? Right after the accident, an investigation started in Australia. Gabe Watson had already left Australia and refused to return. The prosecutors submitted evidence that was contradictory to the story that Gabe had narrated. They suggested the possibility that he turned off Tina's regulator and held her until she was unconscious. He turned it on again and let her sink. Some divers who were near them at the time of the incident, including Stanley Stutz, saw Gabe and Tina in a bear hug underwater. Tina was flailing, kind of moving about without control. She was probably trying to get herself free from the clutches of her killer. The picture that showed Tina lying face up on the ocean floor came to light after a couple of weeks after the horrific incident. Tina was captured in the background of the picture by the other diver, Gary Stempler. He was clicking a photo of his own wife. When he developed the picture after a couple of weeks, he noticed Tina in it and notified the authorities. Tina's father claimed that a few days before their wedding, Gabe had asked Tina to increase her life insurance and make him the sole beneficiary, which she did. This, in itself, gives a clear motive of murder. In March 2005, Gabe Watson started a legal action in Alabama, seeking $45,000 for the accidental death and compensation for trip interruption, medical expenses, taxi charges, and punitive damages for mental and emotional anguish from the travel company. He said he had booked a 2-day scuba diving trip, and as no activity was done on the second day due to the accident, he wanted the company to return the money he paid in advance for it. However, in May 2008, Watson got the action dismissed as his Australian legal team believed that it was not in his best interest to pursue the damages claim. The police spent around 5 years investigating Tina's death. In 2008, an order was passed in Australia holding Watson responsible for Tina's death. In May 2009, he traveled to Australia to face a trial. Later, in June, he pleaded not guilty to murder, but pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The prosecutors pointed out that starting from the time of the incident till the trial, Watson had given 16 different versions of the incident to the police. None of these versions matched with the versions of the eyewitnesses. It was noted that Tina still had a regulator in her mouth at the time when was brought out on the surface. There was still gas left in her tank. The tests conducted on the equipment indicated no faults in them. It was pointed out that Watson did not inflate the BCD, buoyancy control device, the kind of life jacket divers wear for use in any emergency. Gabe had not even tried to remove Tina's weight belt, which could have helped her afloat. And on top of that, Gabe did not even share his air source with Tina, which is a standard practice among dive buddies. Based on Gabe's pleading guilty to manslaughter, he was sentenced to a jail term of 4.5 years, but his sentence could be suspended after just 12 months. The official cause of Tina's death was attributed to drowning. An appeal was filed against this judgment in the Queensland Court of Appeals. Even after all the arguments, nothing much could be achieved except that his period of incarceration was increased by just 6 months, which made Watson a free man in 18 months. Tina's father had started a case in Alabama to seek justice for his daughter. However, before deporting Watson to the U.S., Australian authorities sought written assurances from the U.S. Attorney General general that even if he was convicted of murder, he would not face the death penalty. After the assurance, Watson was deported to the United States on November 25, 2010, and was immediately arrested. He was charged by American prosecutors with murder and kidnapping, and they claimed to have evidence that all the planning to kill his wife was done while he was still in America. Watson was released later on a surety bond. Some new evidence was presented, but the Alabama judge, Tommy Nail, refused to admit some crucial evidence. He completely ruled out Watson's behavior after Tina's death. Tina's father was also blocked from giving evidence about Gabe's alleged attempts to increase the amount of Tina's life insurance policy. On February 23rd, Gabe was acquitted of all charges, as the judge felt that the prosecutors failed to present enough evidence to prove that a crime took place. There was nothing more a grieving father could do. Her friends, family, and parents may now never get closure. Buried in Pelham, Alabama, her memory was tarnished by Watson's disturbing actions towards her grave. A legal battle ensued, stripping him of control over her estate. Though justice prevailed, the true price of Tina's loss remained an unhealed wound for her family. We can only hope her spirit finds peace somewhere beyond this earthly turmoil.